Alright, so this is going to be a second video. I did questions 1 do questions, well, let's see, hopefully 5 through 8 or so. Okay, question 5. Given statements, if a shape is a rectangle, then diagonals bisect each other, and a square is a rectangle, which is a logical conclusion from the given statements? Okay, so if shape is a rectangle, then the diagonals bisect each other. Okay, so anything that's a rectangle, diagonals bisect each other. Well, a square is a rectangle. That's my second statement. So I know that squares, and I think this is a good idea. Before you start looking at the statements, figure out what the conclusion would be. So you'd say something like, oh, well, squares have diagonals that bisect one another. All right, that's my conclusion. Now, I'm going to look at the answer choices, all right, and see which one fits with that. Square has oh, look, it's exactly the same thing, except D. All right, there we go. So I'm done. All right, what is the converse of the following statement? Converse. That means if P, if this is my initial, my conditional, my starting conditional, if P then Q, the converse is going to be if Q then P. Okay, if Q then P. So I'm looking for something that's going to be if, here's my P, here's my Q, if X equals 3.5, then 2X equals 7. Flip the order. So if X, here it is, if X equals 3.5, then 2 equals 3.7. All right, Q then P. All right, number 7. Which graph represents a line perpendicular to line K below? Well, you know, you can do this a couple ways. You can try to eyeball it and just look. Well, perpendicular means that they meet at a right angle, right? So, you know, if one is like this, then the other is going to be like that. I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, it helps you rule out certain things, like B is not perpendicular to K. But other than that, it doesn't help that much. What you want to do is find the slope of this line, because we know that perpendicular slopes are negative reciprocals. Negative reciprocals. That means that we change the sign and we flip the fraction. So that, like, A over B, the negative reciprocal of that would be negative B over A. Alright, so what's the slope of this line? Well, find 2 points. Here's one, and here's one. 2 points where we can see the coordinates pretty clearly. And the slope of K is going to be positive 2 over positive 4. So slope equals 2 over 4, which is, of course, the same as 1 over 2. That means the perpendicular slope is going to be the negative reciprocal. So I make it, if it's positive, I change the sign. So if it's positive, I make it negative. And then I flip the fraction. So I get negative 2 over 1. Okay. So now all I have to do is look for the fraction, look for the line that has a slope of negative 2 over 1. Start with A. Okay, here's a point, and here's a point. So what am I doing? I'm going down 1, and then over, I'm making this big so you can see a little bit better, over 2 in the positive direction. So what's my slope? Negative 1 over 2. That's not what I want. I want negative 2 over 1. So it's not this one. B, I can kind of rule out B. I'm not going to waste time with that. C. Okay, here's a point, and here's a point. So what do I do to go from the one point to the other point? I go down 2, and then I go over 1, positive 1. So I go down 2, over 1. Negative 2 over, so my slope is negative 2 over 1. Oh, that's what I was looking for, right? So this is my answer. All right, number 8. For what value of x is jk parallel to mn? So here's jk, here is mn. Well, how is this supposed to work? A couple things I think that you're supposed to do here. One is you want to remember that if jk and mn are parallel, then km is going to be a transversal, which means that this angle should be congruent. If you know that, well, you've got 52 here, 33 here. You know that the sum of the angles in a triangle is 180. So you know 52 plus 33 plus, what do you call that? Call it x, is going to add up to 180. And then we do some algebra. 85 plus x equals 180. So x equals 95. Okay? So this angle, I guess I probably shouldn't have called it x because I've got x over here. Alright, so this angle, I'll scratch that out. Now, this angle I know is 95. 95 plus 52 plus 33 is 180. Okay, now, these two angles are congruent because if the lines are parallel, then these two angles are congruent. So, this 95 has to equal 5x plus 25. 5x plus 25 equals 95. 5x equals 70. X equals 14. Okay. I'll stop there and I'll pick up